You can get used to stress, even addicted to it. What's the antidote? Something called the relaxation response. Hey everyone, my name is Angela, and I'm an architect, feng shui practitioner, and researcher who makes thoughtly weekly videos all about the science of design for well being, something otherwise known as salutogenesis. I do this using a card deck that I developed that breaks things down into two parts. The first part, foundational concepts, are those core things in everyone's life that can either cause health or dis-ease or illness. The other part is how we fix it. So this is using what my research has shown are 5 core theories or aspects that make up salutogenesis. Each of those has a feng shui element that has been assigned to it, and I will talk more about the feng shui related to design as we go over the cards for the week. And you can also think about each of these aspects as having kind of a base or primary card that represents the core aspect, but then there's a whole alphabet of other cards, which is other science or theories that supplement our understanding of that aspect. So every single week, I shuffle the cards and I draw one from each part of the deck. I really trust and believe that the cards I get are ones that we need to hear. This is what we need to focus on for the week ahead. So I've gone ahead and done that. And this week, the card I drew from the foundational concepts part of the deck is habituation. Now, what is habituation? It means that we have had a stimuli occur over and over again and therefore have become used to it. So you can see on this card, there's a path in the moonlight, and the moon represents our intuition. It represents the unknown, things that need to be made clearer to us because habituation is not a conscious response. It is something that happens in our unconscious. And the cat represents our awareness. So the cat is moving down the path, which represents time. So you can kind of see the noise, the explosion that occurs. And the first time that the cat sees it, there is a complete stress response. That cat is completely on high alert. Then the cat moves a little bit forward down the path, forward in time, and experiences it again. And this time it's startled, but not nearly to the same level of response. And then the cat that's in the front, the present day cat, doesn't even notice that this is happening anymore because the cat has become habituated. So I would ask you, what have you become habituated to in your life? What stressful things are happening to you over and over again that you just accept as the way it is, even though it is probably taking a toll on you? In what ways might you also be tuning out good things in your life and not celebrating them or enjoying them anymore because you've just become used to it? So just like you drive to work every day, you stop noticing every single turn you make and you're almost on autopilot and don't even know quite how you got there. We can start to tune things out when they are repetitive. In healthcare, that can be a real danger, something called alarm fatigue, because there's so many alarms that go off for so many reasons, most of them usually not critical or life-threatening, that people who have to hear these alarms all day, every day, stop truly giving them the attention they deserve. So how are you having a version of alarm fatigue in your life, either for something stressful or something positive? Because when we fail to appreciate and notice, feel grateful for the positive things, we only allow the stressful things to take more of a negative toll on us. I've talked in other episodes of this series about how the antidote to stress is that positivity. So there's that, but also how can we correct for habituation around stressful events? Well, that's where our companion card comes in. And what we drew for this week is the relaxation response. Now, again, I think it's always interesting the cards that come out. Last week we drew biophilia, which is the core aspect in that alphabet of the deck. And just like that, we drew relaxation response, which is again the core aspect for that alphabet in the deck. Now, relaxation response is also can be thought of as I restore. So in our body, we have what's called our autonomic nervous system. And the reason it's called that is because we don't necessarily control it. These are functions like our endocrine system, our heart rate, our breath rate, other functions in our body that just happen. Our autonomic nervous system has two parts. The parasympathetic, which is where we want to be, because that is where all systems are functioning optimally. We are in our prime state of physical and mental health. However, when we encounter something stressful, something disruptive, that switches on our sympathetic nervous system. That is the stress response. That is what we know is fight or flight. And stress is a disruptor. It's supposed to be a sign for us that something needs to change. If we don't pay attention to that sign, if we become habituated to it, eventually the change will be forced on us because we will start to see the toll. We will start to have health problems, mental health problems, and really struggle over time. And we don't want to do that. Relaxation response is about mindfully bringing ourselves back. So it is associated with the water element in feng shui. Water is about healing, clarity, surrendering to the flow. So much of the stress we have in life is because we're fighting things instead of picking our battles and realizing we could just let some stuff go. So when we think about this, we want to think about the term I restore. Relaxation response is about restoring health, resetting our nervous system back to where it is supposed to be. And that can be done through conscious activities. So things like meditation, a gratitude practice, prayers, mantras, movement like rocking or pacing, positive distractions that are uplifting, like things that give us a sense of wonder or awe, things that make us happy and evoke joy. Anything like that is a good way to do it. So how do we design that into our spaces? Well, it means that first of all, we want to think about giving people opportunity to do ritualistic kinds of activities, whether that is a ritual of their making or a faith-based ritual. So you can think about, like, say, I'm Catholic and I grew up doing Stations of the Cross or Mysteries of the Rosary, where you would walk a path and you would encounter something, you would say a prayer. So you can have something like that. You could have other kinds of rituals, like when we are at the park and along the path, every so often there's a place to stop and do a certain kind of exercise. Or maybe you are hiking in the mountains and every so often there's some signage up that tells you about the wildlife or the plant life that encourages you to stop, to really notice and be mindful of your surroundings. So think about whether it's your own space or space that you are designing. What are some of the rituals that make sense to take place? And how can you deliberately design to support those? Even something like making dinner can become a more mindful, more ritual kind of an activity if we set the kitchen up to really support us. So instead of feeling flustered and having not enough space to work, or not the right tools at our disposal, or not being able to find what we need. Maybe our kitchen is set up in that perfect work triangle. We've got our tools and equipment close by where we are doing food prep, and other tools and equipment close by where we are cooking. And now, if we're going to be slicing the carrot, we're focused on slicing the carrot, not on 5 other things that's going on. That is a way to be more mindful. You can also think about ways that you can have environmental anchors. So this might be a quote that you like, but it could also be a statue of a figure that has meaning for you, religious or otherwise. A symbol like a star might have meaning for you to be hopeful and optimistic. You can place those in your space so that when you see them, it reminds you to stop. Reminds you to pay attention, to think about something that is positive. We can also think about having continuous loops in our home or in a more public or commercial area so that you can walk and pace and you're not always hitting a dead end. Space for doing things like rocking. Think about that kind of seating. Rocking is a much more meditative activity, or swinging. A porch swing can be a huge thing. I see a lot of these in public parks as well. They're really soothing, really relaxing. Or maybe a beanbag chair that just kind of cocoons you. Anything like that that is going to soothe you. You can think about sound. So maybe it is using sound effects like white noise. It could be sound effects like animal sounds like bird calls or ocean waves, anything like that, dimmer lighting, using colored lighting that's soothing. All of that will help you to calm yourself down, re-regulate your nervous system, and relax. Now, remember, when we think about habituation, along with the relaxation response, we don't want to build in these positive things, but then start to take them for granted as well. So part of where feng shui comes in is that we can design spaces where we can move things around, change things up, maybe every quarter or for certain seasons, anything like that, because habituation gets a pattern interrupt because it is a pattern anytime there is a change. So it could be the intensity of what we're experiencing, the frequency, the type of thing we're encountering, the rhythm related to it, the amount of it. So just think not only about how you can set a space up for success, for relaxing, for resetting, for inducing that kind of calm, mindful, meditative state, but also how you can change it over time so you don't get so used to it that you either get bored with it or take it for granted. So if you learned something, make sure you let me know. I love hearing from you. I've gotten some really great emails from people telling me they're using it to prompt discussions in classes, or that they are learning a lot and they've made some changes to their home as a result. And I love hearing that. And I also want you to know that the best way you can support this channel, if you like what you're hearing, is to like, subscribe, and tell a friend. I really do want this to be a conversation that we're all having, because when we fully understand that space profoundly affects our well-being, we're going to choose the right things in our spaces. We're no longer going to tolerate bad design that's only contributing to our problems. So it is really important that we all understand and speak this language of well-being. And it starts with you tuning in. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.